It's the Old Doctor Who Show, episode number 8, The Three Doctors, with special guest Ryan Quintel.
Go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine. You couldn't control my mind before, and you certainly can't control it now.
Would you like a jelly, dear?
The TARDIS, when working properly, is capable of many amazing things.
Reverse the polarity of the neutron flows, and the TARDIS will be free of the force field.
But the TARDIS is more than a machine. It's like a person, you see.
The resulting reaction is Are you ready?
All right, welcome to the Old Doctor Who Show, the show where Dan and Eric review old Doctor Who episodes. I'm your host, Eric Grissom, and I'm joined, as always,
by Dan Johnson, your other host.
Oh, Dan Johnson.
That's me.
Special episode today. We have a guest in the house, or not in my house. If we have a guest in my house, I have
I'm in
trouble.
all houses.
He's in a house. Let's just say he's in a house.
All right, Ryan Quintel. Am I pronouncing your name right?
That's correct.
Yes.
That's
Good
correct.
job. I'm very good at this.
You'll
find I'm very good at this podcast.
You weren't baited by the A, not Quintal. Quintel. You
right.
Got it.
Well, thank you for being on the show. We're now all bound in blood.
I'm excited to be here. 2015 Doctor Who show reboot, gritty reboot.
It's very exciting too because this is for fans of Symmetry. This is our 8th episode. We've done 4 black and white, 4 color, and now we have Ryan.
Yeah, so we have.
It's like it was meant to be.
We have 3 hosts, and the episode is 3 doctors. This keeps going.
I was going to say,
pretty
I'm
deep.
the 3rd Doctor. I'm
amazing.
only going to be available via television. This
Yeah, you're a Cardinal,
Right.
clearly.
All right, so before we get into it, we do have a little bit of business because this is secretly my Trojan Horse Twin Peaks podcast that I maybe should be doing. But since we talked last time, we talked about David Lynch coming back.
Yeah.
He is back.
Yes.
So I like to think that we had a little hand.
We had a
in
lot to do
making
with that.
happen.
I think. Yeah. He's a big fan of the podcast. He's been writing me a lot. I mean, it's getting a little annoying, but whatever.
Just all caps.
It's all
No,
caps,
he's just
screaming
always
emails, no
writing in all
punctuation.
caps.
It's
Yeah.
no punctuation,
Right.
stream of consciousness.
All right. So anything else?
No.
I just we had to say that.
We had to mention it.
We owe it
Yeah.
to our fan.
People with bated breath saying, you guys
I
did
was
it.
actually listening
Archie.
to the last episode, and I was like, wow, everything Dan is saying in this episode is being invalidated by the current internet.
Yeah.
He was just like, no, Lynch is definitely out. He's definitely out. And you guys are like, it's not going to happen because Lynch isn't involved. And then I was just like, but that was like 3 weeks ago that like Lynch was like, no, I'm definitely in.
Dude, it's timey-wimey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to do the 3 doctors now. You ready for the transfer to the show?
Yeah, let's hit it.
Show clip.
Hit the button. Actually, hang on, now since you're going to do a cut here anyway.
No, man, I hit the button. I made the sound.
You did this. You just now we're in.
We've already thrown it, Dan.
We're in. We're
None
in the
of
middle
this
of the
audio
package.
is
You're
in
going
the
to
show.
drop in. We
All
didn't
right,
actually
well,
like
drop us
introduce
out.
Ryan. We didn't introduce Ryan at all.
I'm fine. Well,
Oh, we
what do
didn't. Ryan, how are you? We did skip over you, Ryan. I got so excited we had a guest.
I know. You're like, we have a guest. Let's do the show.
Not
Yeah.
to mention who the guest was.
I
So,
mean,
Ryan's my father.
I am.
Why don't we? So let's reset for a
I'm
second.
so happy you came home, Dad.
I'm so glad to see you again, son.
Do we want?
When am I
reset?
coming home, Dad? I don't know when. Right now.
Right. Dan, you are correct.
Yeah, I know.
That was rude of us. Ryan, you also have a podcast yourself, correct?
Yes, I have the Save As Games podcast where I have no right emailing big video game companies and small video game companies and talking to them about how they make their games and nerding out about video game stuff. But the other thing I'm a big nerd about is Doctor Who, and that's thanks to co-host here Dan Johnson.
Yeah, that's right. So Ryan and I work about 15 feet away from each other, and when the Who was in its full reboot, and I was talking about it incessantly to anyone who would listen, which was no one, because really no one was really into it, but finally Ryan jumped on board, and when you jumped in, you went hard. You flew through. So
I started at the Ecclestons.
Yeah. You
And-
haven't watched any, before this, you haven't really watched any classic Who, right? It was all the reboot stuff.
No,
or
but
the-
I'm a big Star
That's fine.
Trek fan, and like they were doing like 24 episode seasons, so I was very willing to accept into my life a 1 hour a piece sci-fi serial show.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so Ryan, is the Three Doctors your first?
It's my first
Doctor
old.
Who episode
Yes,
you've
it
ever
is.
seen.
Yes.
Okay,
And
It's kind of
it's a good way in.
it's good, and it also activated me to the secret subtitle of your show: Two white men discussing racism and sexism in the 70s.
That is. And I have more notes about that in this one.
There's going to be more, folks. Yep.
Poor Joe Grant.
All right.
What we got? I got on it. Let's not blow that yet.
Okay, you can kick it into the clip now. You've
All
done
right, so
your
let's do
job.
it. We're going back into time tunnel here.
Yep. Enjoy the editing, Eric.
Perhaps he can help himself. Show me the Doctor's time stream, the section for his earlier self before he changed his form.
You cannot allow him to cross his own time stream, apart from the enormous energy it would need. The first law of time expressly forbids him to meet his other selves.
I am aware of that, Your Excellency, but this is an emergency.
But you can't.
Your Excellency, I have to.
Be it on your own head.
That's odd. Nobody touched anything, did they? No. Well, you heard it, though, didn't you?
Yes, and felt it too. Could it be that stuff outside?
No, I don't think so. Hello, what's this? Oh, seems strangely familiar. Is it yours, Joe?
Flute? No.
Well, properly speaking, it's a recorder.
Thank you. I was wondering where that had got to. You haven't been trying to play this, have you? Oh, I can see you've been doing the TARDIS up a bit. I don't like it. Oh, my word.
All right, so we're back with the Three Doctors. 1972, this is the first serial of season 10 and the show's 10th anniversary special. It's written by Bob Baker and Dave Martin. We all love Dave Martin, right?
Sure.
Directed by Lenny Mayne. I have no idea who Dave Martin is.
No.
Previous. All right, quick
dead.
synopsis here. We've got a faster-than-light signal of energy that's sent to Earth from inside a black hole, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
The signal now becomes a weird blob of antimatter whose task is to find the Doctor and transport him back to the source of the energy. The Time Lords are also under attack from the same source. They've got no options left, so they decide to break the first law of time and allow the Doctor to meet his former selves. They unite the first, second, and third Doctor together. They have to figure out a way to stop the mysterious force behind the attacks.
Well said. That sounds about right.
That's a great
I think that's the one I watched.
Yeah, that's like
that
I
from
took a picture
MDB?
I've got it hanging on the wall. What's that, Brian?
I'm sorry. I said, is that from MDB?
That is a little bit of that, a little bit of Wikipedia, a little bit of Googling.
These are homemade synopses you're writing?
Yeah.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
Production value.
Production put them together. All right, so we usually start, Dan, with your opinion. I do no longer care about your opinion,
Nope.
Dan.
I don't even
We're
have
going
one.
right to Ryan.
Do not care.
Right to the new blood here. What
newbie.
this?
Well, I think a lot of my reaction to this episode is the reaction to seeing the first really classic Doctor Who thing. Of like I was looking at that for that effect of this sort of colored blob thing and going, is my TV broken? Do I have all the pixels burnt on my television? But once I kind of accepted where the state of technology was and the gratuitous use of blue screen, let's call it that.
Hey, well, hold up. I take issue with that because the last episode we watched, that was the ultimate use of blue screen. There was
they
good.
toned it down a little bit.
Yeah, I heard that
Plenty of
they
good
blue screened the
screen in this.
kitchen. Is that the case?
Yeah. The wife going into the kitchen was the best use of blue screen possible. We're not going to paint a set. We're just going to put it up on a blue screen.
I gotta say, I liked this episode. I mean, I don't know how soon we can start talking about the bad guy in it. Omega.
Yeah, that took me a while to figure out what they were saying. I actually had to look up what they were saying. I had to look for a synopsis because Omega means nothing. I thought they were saying "Oh my God" at first. Omega.
Makes sense.
Brits don't know what you're talking about.
What a costume!
Oh my gosh!
I actually really like the costume. I want to see Omega again in like a new Who
Yeah,
episode. I think that would be cool. And I did like how it all tied in with like this guy is the reason why they have time travel, and he's sort of, he's broken or died sort of twice in order to provide this sustained energy source for the Time Lords to have access to this stuff. Time Lords,
that was really a really cool amount of world building they were doing in this episode. Just stuff that they've hinted at maybe even in the current season, like the fact that they do draw their energy from a black hole. I think they've mentioned in the current series, but that there was this character who unintentionally sacrificed himself to do this, to provide them. That was pretty amazing. What did you think?
His whole story, the fact that he is the savior of everyone, and then he becomes their worst nightmare, their worst enemy. It was just such a cool character, as far as him being an anti-hero and everything. And also just the fact that the dark side of Omega's mind or brain is some kind of S&M sex goblin. They had, whatever was going on there, that was clearly one of my favorite parts ever.
Yeah. Was that the walking acne that you're referring to? Because there was the acne waddling eyeball things.
Yeah, no, the eyeball things were sort of his minions. So they were they look like
they were Jello molds made with light bulbs
or something.
Yeah,
right. But
no,
grapes
with crab arms that shot lasers.
Yes,
that shot lasers
much
out of,
later
out of claws. Wait, which is to say, because Omega's in this black hole, and everything that is there is out of his own mind, he came up with them. That was a conscious decision to have crab claws that shoot laser beams. He actually had to think this. Yeah, well, maybe they have guns? No, not guns. No. Lobster claws.
Yes. You think?
to back it up even before Omega, we start out with that weird guy, Mr. Hollis, who's the game where it's a wildlife sanctuary.
Yeah.
But he never puts his gun down. He's just wandering out with his gun.
The entire
and he
episode.
Finds that weird, weird giant condom and a car battery, some sort of party has been going on in this situation, and he's what's up? And then you get Professor Tyler, who I could talk about the entire time. That's the mustache scientist guy.
Oh, yeah.
Who finds it, who's showing off his, it's his cosmic energy detector from that weird, condom sex party thing. And then he's just showing X-rays that were clearly from someone that went to that party. If you know what you know what I'm saying.
Hey guys, we found Ralph's keys. They're in a really awkward place.
Yeah, it was very funny, and I just love to with Professor Tyler, he starts bragging about how great the cosmic equipment is, and he makes a point of saying it's the best equipment between here and Cape Kennedy, which is the ocean. I guess he got not a lot, And
those a-holes in Guam got nothing on him.
Right. He spends the whole episode where they sort of just humor him the whole time as well.
Yeah.
Where he's oh, how does this work? I'm yeah, we'll tell you later. And they never tell him later.
Well, there's a great moment, too, in that whole scene where the Doctor requests a silicon module to stir his coffee.
Yeah, that was a good taking down of... was that to Leftwich? They asked him for... Can you help me something? Yeah, hand me that silicon rod.
Brigadier Leftwich.
Oh.
Everyone's sort of walking around talking like this, Doctor, the whole time.
You've got... Exactly. Ryan...
To jump back to Mr. Hollis, though, he spends the whole time throughout the episode just sort of popping up in play. There he is behind a hill. Here he is on, an X-ray. He's not really... did he win a contest?
For the 10th anniversary, one lucky fan.
Yeah, you'll watch 40 minutes, all of a sudden they'll just pan over. He's crouching behind a hill. You're oh yeah, that guy's still a part of this story.
He probably wanted to be an actual character in the show, but when they cast him, they were he's just got a great pop face. He's got a great face.
Yeah, and I did.
This is visual humor for the people at home.
Right. I did read that Hartnell, who's the third Doctor, and we should probably get into some of the main plots, was very sick at the time that they were making this.
Right.
So I imagine a lot of rewriting was happening. There's the character of was it Corporal Benton?
Yeah.
I believe they added because he was going to be Jamie. They were going to have to actually bring Jamie back for this.
Oh wow.
But the actor couldn't do it or whatever, and I was that was a blown opportunity. They could have gotten Zoe back, or even better, they could have gotten Susan back. Because if they're not
that
going to be able to
amazing.
get Hartnell, they could have had Susan representing the first season. But it seems like there was probably a lot of rewriting in this episode that happened to make up for the fact that Hartnell, was so sick.
Yeah. Well,
and now Hartnell is the Doctor that I saw exclusively on the TV.
Yeah, that's the first Doctor. So let's just jump back a little bit, Ryan, since you haven't actually seen any of the previous episodes of the Doctors. What did you think of the Doctors that you did see? So, I mean, we're in the season with the third Doctor right now.
Yeah, the third Doctor seems a little stuffy, doesn't he?
Yeah,
I think the second Doctor seemed kind of whimsical with his recorder, sort of rocking around, and that haircut, which
that bowl cut is real nice.
The bowl cut, and also has it been like 30 years since we've seen the second Doctor? Because he's looking old underneath that jet black wig.
Oh, the second Doctor?
Yeah.
None of them were very young to begin with when they had their own. When they were.
Yeah, right. And at this time, it's been a number of seasons since. It's been at least 3 or 4 seasons, I think, since the last second Doctor episode. Yeah, and I will say he looks way more Mo-like in color than he does in black and white. It was like you're turning the light on in a room. You're like, oh, okay, all right. Well, that's where
this is like the BBC just like figuring out their color game, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they had color, but for some reason the Time Lords on Gallifrey didn't. Every computer monitor or every TV monitor was in black and white. I think they may have been in the past.
It's an aesthetic choice.
It was an aesthetic choice. So, but there was a mention whenever the first Doctor's on the monitor for the first time. And he mentions he's stuck in this with a dandy and a clown, which was a nice little nod to both of those characters. That's really that sums up those two characters kind of in a quick sentence.
That was a really great line. The second Doctor had a lot of really cool, sort of funny lines. Like at one point, he's like, he needs to feed the antimatter creature useless information, and he asks like where, if anyone has a TV handy.
Right.
I thought that was a good line.
Didn't he offered somebody a jelly? Didn't he offer Brigadier Leftwich a jelly baby?
Yeah, he did.
Yes.
That's something I always associate with Tom Baker, but I guess that was... that
really becomes his sort of staple.
Yeah.
Well, you've been fiddling with it, haven't you?
It was perfectly all right until you touched it. Now, if only you'd leave things to me.
If we were to leave things to you, my dear fellow, we'd be in a fine pickle, wouldn't we?
Well, look, you lost the image, not me.
I did not lose the image.
I
It faded. You
said
saw
this
it.
thing.
Look,
It
both
is not
of
faded,
you.
it's only... Well,
Look.
Ah, there you are. I seem to be stuck up here. Oh, so you're my replacements. A dandy and a clown. Have you done anything?
Well, we've assessed the situation.
Just as I thought. Nothing.
well, it's not easy, you know.
Not as if we knew what that stuff is.
No.
Then I'll tell you. It's a time bridge.
We talked a little bit about the first Doctor, and it's kind of nice that he's here, even though his role is so diminished. Mm-hmm. But at least with him here, they have him. He's sort of the one that figures out that blob of antimatter is actually, a bridge between the two realities.
Right.
And then he comes a little bit at the end, and he uses their power to so them to figure out how they're going to defeat Omega.
Yeah. So what'd you think of their little telepathic party they were having? With the really
the seizure-inducing thing, where fans at home somebody needlessly. Yeah,
children all over Britain were just convulsing. It was horrible.
I actually I have a writer in my contract that says on the Doctor Who website page, I think I want a GIF of all three of us that I can make the GIF if we want to do that little telepathic.
I think we're going to need to have that on the...
so tight.
Yeah, we'll do that on the old Doctor Who show.com.
Great.
That works for me.
Yep.
So Dan, what do you think overall?
Overall, I think it's a really good episode. We got a lot going on. I think each of the Doctors was very much like of their own essence. Like the second Doctor was clever but disarming, and like I said, he's a clown, but he was really playing that up the whole time through. Pertwee I liked a lot in this episode, the Third Doctor. I thought he was much less like cold and gruff than he has been in previous episodes. And Hartnell was nice. It obviously kind of could have been so much better had he been in better health and been able to actually participate more. But they used him really well. He was able to, as in terms of plot, being able to have him be the go-between with Gallifrey and coming back and working with the doctors. I think it was really veering off the answering the question, but I think it was really interesting that the other two doctors respected him the most. It's like basically whatever the first Doctor says, we're going to do. Even though technically he is much younger than them and has much less experience. But anytime he had a suggestion, they were like, yeah, all right, this is what he wants us to do. Let's give it a shot. So it seemed a little strange. But no, overall, I think it was really great. The costuming and set decoration was fantastic. It was so cheesy.
That fur coat.
That fur coat, though. Jo in her... Oh, man, the first time you see her, she's in that blue micro mini skirt with thigh-high boots. I mean, that is
the first time
a symbol of female empowerment is what you got.
The first time you see her, she's serving drinks to all the fellas. I mean, she's one of the only female characters in the show, and the only time you see her, first time she walks on screen, she's like, who wants something? What can I guys get you from the kitchen?
Yeah.
Like, all right, okay.
I can't confirm or deny, but I think she is the only female species on the planet, according to that show. No, there's one woman at the end.
There also is
like...
Mrs. Hollis is there.
Mrs. Hollis is like, where were you? And he's like, forget it.
Yeah. And it's the same thing as too. It's a spearhead from space. It's like the old some crazy old dude in the woods who gets kidnapped, and he's yelling at his wife all the time about get me something.
Is that what all of the British countryside is like? It's just old people who hate each other stuck in a loveless marriage?
Andy Caps everywhere. Just Andy Caps everywhere.
Well, you can't fight him. He's just wielding the largest gun I have ever seen.
But doing nothing
he's in an animal sanctuary. Like, that's the other thing. Is like there's great use of signs, especially in the beginning.
Wildlife
you see the
Sanctuary.
At Wildlife Sanctuary, and he's just this crazy dude with a gun. And also unit headquarters, secret unit headquarters, and they got the giant sign that's like, hey, here's where all the secrets are, guys.
I absolutely love it. Because
here.
Not 5 minutes before that, Leftwich was saying that this is top secret. You can't just wander around in here. Cut to big sign on the main road.
Speaking of the Brigadier, I mean, I thought he was great this whole episode. Like, he was at his most disinterested and pissed off at everyone. And even at the end, like, there's this great moment where the Doctor you think is going to sacrifice himself, and the Brigadier sort of salutes him, but he's not even making eye contact. The Brigadier's sort of looking at the ground. It's like this half-ass salute that he's like, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't know if the actor was having an off day that day or if he was just like, F this noise.
I do have problems with that actor a bit. I mean, he's so British, but in such a fake British way, seemingly. Every time he's giving a command, he's kind of looking up and off to the side. Just everything's just very much just looking off to the side. And just I don't know. Right. But he had a real Rowan Atkinson thing going on in this episode. Like, it almost felt like a spoof to me.
Yeah.
He was parodying himself. But
that mustache, is that a fake mustache or is that a real mustache?
That was government issued.
It's a top secret mustache.
Speaking of like looking off to the side too, like that was the one thing with William Hartnell. Like every time you're like, he kept looking off to the side, like, am I done here? Like, can I get back? You got enough?
Can I please go home?
No? Okay. Yeah, what do I have to say now? Time Bridge? Fantastic. Time Bridge.
I like all the, anytime that, like, that creature, the antimatter swallowing creature was sort of expanding or shrinking, and they, like, it's clearly being superimposed right on top of the whole scene.
Wait, what?
And the actors almost have a, like, okay, and so he's on the left? Okay, and so I'm scared of the left. Okay, great. That's great.
You have the assistant director just, like, shaking a can of coins off to the side to get their attention.
Because at this point, probably the director doesn't even know how it's going to work. He's like, they do. They get some crayons and they make the whole thing happen. I have something, because I am a steward of different thinking for you guys being a guest on this show. I'm going to retcon my way into your imaginations. Dr. Tyler, right? First of all, who is sold to us of being a scientist by writing E = MC squared.
He really did. He really did in the sand. Well, that's true.
He's like, well,
E = MC squared. Well, that's true.
Everyone does
These
that.
are still letters and symbols together. Fantastic. Okay.
Which actually also drew to my attention that he looks a lot like Albert Einstein. So, like, they're really selling you science with this guy.
Yeah.
But he has to be safe, right? And we got to get him home because his wife is pregnant, and they just found out it was a girl, and they're naming the girl Jackie. Jackie Tyler.
How sick is that?
Do you see what I'm doing with you right now?
Oh, I didn't get it till just now. That's amazing.
Time is a flat circle.
I get you.
I see what you're saying.
Wait, wrong podcast. Time is not a flat circle. Time is timey-wimey.
Speaking of that guy,
Timey-wimey.
right. While we're talking about that guy too, after he's bragging about having the most impressive cosmic energy equipment this side of the Atlantic.
Yeah, you don't even know.
He says that he's shown them to everyone, the Yanks and the other lot. Who are the other lot? And after he says that, the doctor's like, "Oh, really?" Like every other country's
You
like,
showed
"Oh,
it to them?
Come on, guys." America and the other guys,
Right.
And
just
the
standing around
rest.
Yeah,
I showed it to
standing
the
around
Yanks
that water
and the
cooler
Browns.
in the black hole universe.
Oh, so there was a moment. Well, I mean, is this the first time? Does anyone know? Is this the first time we're actually seeing the Time Lords or seeing Gallifrey? Because it was my first time seeing it, and you never forget your first time.
Oh, yeah. I assumed that it was a
original
regular
run
thing. Because
The first time seeing Gallifrey, did you say?
Yeah, seeing the Time Lord. I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming that we're actually
I don't
on
think
Gallifrey.
so,
I'm
yeah.
not sure where we were, but I'm assuming it's Gallifrey.
Right. I don't think so because I believe maybe. I mean, I didn't see it. I don't think we saw it.
We haven't.
As far as our run, but like with the last episode of the Second Doctor, when they take everything away from him.
Oh,
I'm
that must
imagining
be.
they probably.
Yeah, that's true.
showed.
That's right. So, Ryan, you may have missed this unless because you're a super fan and listen to every episode of this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But this Doctor, his conundrum, he's stuck on Earth and unable. The
I know
TARDIS is
this.
broken. Yep,
Yes,
TARDIS is
because
broken.
he gets rewarded at the end of saving all this. He gets his what is it called?
His dematerialization circuit back
Yes.
and
Yeah,
the
and the
memory
codes.
and knowledge of how to use it.
a
Right.
fresh ass dematerialization circuit.
So does that mean how was the TARDIS traveling if they didn't have the circuit? Because it happens a couple times.
Well, it gets swallowed, doesn't it?
It does get swallowed, but then whenever they're in, I guess it's because they were in the black hole universe and
Anything
Omega
impossible.
moved it for them. Okay,
He actually is.
Oh my
that
God.
does
but it
it.
didn't just do the whole like poof, it's there sort of thing, like all the monsters appearing. It actually did the full materialization thing, which was great because you hadn't seen that with Pertwee.
Well, Omega was not making it move. Omega was making it summon. Was making it do its little time.
he can do anything there. He can make monsters with
You do
claws.
anything there.
One of my favorite
Infinite.
examples, he goes, "Doctor, here, anything is possible." And then he just summons a little chair for the doctor to sit like
Yeah,
chair.
Pertwee was just like, oh, all right, a chair.
And he summons
Well done.
like on purpose, like a really little chair for the doctor. Like he's got a big chair, and he's like, "I've made you a smaller version."
It should have been like a preschool chair. He just really can't quite
Just
get
a
it.
really, it's so uncomfortable.
I thought it was. I mean, overall, I think it was. It was a good. I thought it was a great story. Like the whole Omega business with him disappearing too, as far as that world eating away at his whole being, and the only thing that's left is his rage and his will.
His will was keeping him there.
but
But the thing is,
Yeah.
so he's sitting there. The two of the doctors are with him. They're going to sacrifice themselves, seemingly, and Omega wants them to lift up the visor on his helmet.
Oh, this
Yes.
is a great moment.
Which is great, which was really good. You had a nice reaction shot. It cuts away, and then it reveals he goes over to a mirror and looks, and Omega's actually gone, and so it's just his will that's left there. So what happens is they lift up the helmet, see it, put it back down again. Then Omega gets up and goes to the mirror and lifts it himself. He's never done this in 2,000 years that he's been trapped there.
Danny, not vain.
Right. Right, and
needed
that
them
is
to lift it.
protecting him. Like the idea was that was slowing down
Sure.
the forces that were destroying him as being,
It was just
you know,
strange that
matter
he
versus
specifically
antimatter.
asked them to lift it up for him. But he all along could have just done it. Was like
He
Dumbo.
hadn't
He
thought of
didn't
it.
need the feather.
Certainly
He didn't need the feather. He could fly all along.
Right, but if you're gonna lift that big heavy helmet like that, and you're controlling two guys, you make the two guys do it.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, and that was
He's
a great,
like hanging around with great people all day. He's got
Right.
Honestly, in terms of effects, too, that was actually a pretty good shot.
Oh,
I was like,
yeah.
good for you. It showed, like, the two doctors framed in between the arms, and it was really nice.
Yeah.
I have a question, though, on the end of the story.
Mm-hmm.
So the three doctors get together, and they all combine their minds to figure out that they're going to use the shield generator as some device that's going to somehow destroy Omega.
Yes.
Now, while they're unhooking it, they see the recorder.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, this is an even better idea. We can use this. And then that's what they use, and they explained it by having a piece of matter collide with antimatter, and that controls the explosion that destroys Omega, which releases everyone. What was the plan before they got the recorder?
You're right, because that was the entire plan. That somehow...
I think I lost some of that because I was assuming the mind meld that they were doing, and it was a mind meld, let's face it, that was like
actually, it was
remembering where you left your keys. And then it was like, oh, the recorder's in the shield generator. You just use that. But they were, you're right, they're still surprised.
Yeah, they make a note of saying, this is the shield generator, this is our idea, and then they see the recorder, and the second doctor's like, you can't do that. And he's like, I'm going to buy you 100 of them. This is a better idea than the original one. And it makes sense, like, because that was trapped, so it's still, it didn't get, turned into antimatter-friendly version of everything else.
It makes sense in huge air quotes. It makes sense. How did it get there? How did the recorder fall underneath the TARDIS and into...
There's nooks and crannies on that thing.
They dropped it right at some point in the beginning.
There's coins under there. Oh, there's the TV remote. Everything.
Just a skeleton of an old companion that he had forgotten about.
That's where Zoe
That's
went.
why they couldn't. That's why they couldn't get Jamie on the show, because the actor had gotten trapped under there.
It's a skeleton and
they actually cut that whole scene out where it was the recorder and Jamie's skeleton trapped.
Right. It's a skeleton hand just holding the recorder.
Or it's like the Terminator hand from.
That explains the smell for the past 3 years.
I always thought you just sort of bug it off. I also, to end the story, it's just a nice punctuation of remembering the key themes of the time. This only other woman that we're ever introduced to, the wife of Mrs. What's her name?
Groundskeeper's wife. She doesn't need a name. She's
the only thing other than you wouldn't believe me if I told you that this guy has to see when seeing his wife is supper ready.
Yeah.
What, Joe didn't make him a snack?
He almost said bitch. He almost.
The fact that Joe didn't pack him a light lunch for his trip home is really disgraceful.
Shame. After a hard day at the wildlife sanctuary where he was carrying his gun.
It could have been anything, but no.
They're safe from everything except for Mr. Hollis.
So, yeah, I mean, overall, it was incredible. I agree with Ryan. This would be an amazing thing. Omega would be an amazing thing to bring back into the current series.
Yeah, maybe they have. I didn't look up if he does another appearance.
No, but I'm talking in the current series, in the 2005 series. Yeah, right. I'd love to see them.
Seeing Capaldi go against Omega, two stuffy doctors.
Oh, so where does Capaldi fit among the doctors? Because I always felt that he was very much a first Doctor, but now I'm seeing a lot of third Doctor in him. What say you, Ryan?
Have you been re-listening? You've probably been re-listening to the podcast where I was telling you that.
Yeah. This is how I fall asleep at night, is I just listen to our podcast.
I just kind of let it drip influence everything.
Well, the thing is, I recut the podcast and cut you out of it and just listen to myself.
I know.
It's a complex process.
I feel a little bit like Omega myself right now.
I haven't, I'm going to have to go spend more time with the first Doctor, right? Because I've only seen him via TV where he looked very old and he was just kind of like, you two should stop fighting. And then kind of then they didn't have the remote, so they couldn't change the channel, so he had to just kind of walk off camera.
Just see him wandering in the background for half an hour.
But yeah, I could see Capaldi. I mean, Capaldi sort of weirdly dresses a little bit like some sort of GQ version of this Doctor. It's not a tuxedo, but it is purpley.
Mm-hmm. And velvet, maybe?
Crushed velvet.
Which is very much a Pertwee thing.
Clara, I'm wearing velvet now, Clara.
I'm so glad the Doctor could join us today.
It's good to be here. Are you both PE teachers? Wrong show.
Actually,
I've ruined your show.
Pertwee really toned down the outfit in this one because previously it's been this big flowy.
Capes.
Oh my gosh, he's just and the cape. There was no cape.
Yeah.
But we did have Bessie, which was very good.
We did, and I'm very happy that he's gotten the TARDIS back.
Yeah.
Finally get off Earth.
So that must have been 3 seasons of Earth and Unit. That feels like a lot.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. This one was season 10,
beginning of 10.
And what was the first Pertwee? Season 7.
You know we don't do our research on this show.
I know.
But that sounds about right.
Those at home can use the computer.
Yep, and write us.
But I think it's been 3 seasons. I think it was 3 seasons on Earth.
That's just a whole lot of being in one place and a whole lot of Unit.
Speaking of which, yeah, it's exactly a whole lot of Unit, 3 seasons, and nobody's been inside the TARDIS before this. Like the Brigadier, the other guy, they're like, "Whoa, this is what's going on in here."
No, remember, it's hadn't they gone in before and it was just the phone box? There was nothing. No, that must not be the case. No, I'm misremembering. No, I'm misremembering because he had the whole thing where he was trying to fix it and smoke came billowing out of it. Yeah. So we had the 2 different Unit guys going in. We had the Brigadier and Benton. But it was great that Benton was just like, it's obvious that's bigger on the inside. So we've gotten that gag that's come back again in the current series. But he's one of the first to do it.
Benton's been around. Yeah, Benton, I guess, has been around even before Pertwee because he knew the second Doctor.
Right.
They never got invited inside. It's like hanging out, like, I'm going in here. It's like, all right, you guys outside.
You guys want to come in the TARDIS, get some drinks?
It's a really small box. You guys want to hang out?
Benton was also in Terror of the Autons, and I don't remember him from that. But it said that he was in that episode.
Yeah, he was the other guy. He was the other main Unit guy.
That was Mike Yates.
Oh, you're right. I thought it was the same guy.
Benton is a different guy. Yeah, no. Mike Yates, who wasn't in this episode, so I don't know what happened to him between.
My problem is,
all
British people look the same, so I really couldn't tell them apart.
They actually kind of do.
They kind of do.
If you're being joking about that,
of course I was.
I was timid on this point because I just deferred. I was like,
Ryan's like, whoa, we get racist about English people.
Yeah, let's crack it open. Let's call it like it is.
We got race and gender going.
But yeah, I was kind of not bringing up that point because I was sort of timid about it because I was like, maybe I just don't know something that Eric and Dan know, which is. Yeah, I was like, how much time has he spent with these people? Because they seem surprised to be in the TARDIS.
Yeah, I don't know why they've never been in before. That's
Does the
really
Doctor
rude.
sleep in the TARDIS? Did they think he was hanging upside down like a bat, just in the TARDIS?
I like the first time that they see the inside of the TARDIS is as soon as he gets it working again, and he's leaving.
Yeah.
So it's like they spent 3 years with this awesome device that they can't see, and they're like, "Oh yeah, check it out, we're leaving tomorrow."
Right.
No offer of any of you want to check any of this out? I mean, you want to play with the buttons or anything? Nothing.
Guys, I'm doing a little remodeling in here. There might be a lot of noise, but just don't open the door. Just stay back.
Yeah, very weird. But yeah, good episode.
Well, what did you think of the interior of the TARDIS too? This is
very cool. I thought it was very very stylish, and it looked quite a bit like Matt Smith's season 7-ish, season 6-y, 7-y, halfway through. I at some point he got a new TARDIS, right?
Yeah.
And the panel, the sort of clean lines and all that stuff looked a lot like that.
Yeah, it was less of the little fiddly bits all over the place that we had from.
Yeah, it was very clean looking.
It
was very clean looking. I really, really enjoyed that. It seemed, in a weird way, almost more what I would expect from an advanced alien race than sort of the junk box that Eccleston and Tennant have.
Yeah. But you see a lot of the repeating elements. It's definitely evolved. The very first time we go into the TARDIS in Unearthly Child, it's a very strange sort of setup that he's got in there. That's if you're going to go back and spend a little time with Hartnell, definitely check that one out. But because you get him, I think at his best there. But
as a point of fact, should me and all the fans of this show be listening to the episode, then watching it, or should we be watching the episode,
you should
then
be
hearing
watching and then listening?
Because spoiler alerts.
Yeah, and then you can. It's less of us rambling. Well, we're still rambling, but at least you'll be able to follow the rambling a little bit better.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because we don't really. We decided not to really kind of go linearly through it. So
that's a TOTUS hot tip.
All right, so that puts anything else for anyone on this wonderful Three Doctors episode?
Ryan, do you think you're going to watch more Classic Who?
I think I'm going to check out more Classic Who, but maybe first I'll check out Twin Peaks, so I can be on your new Twin Peaks rewatch podcast.
You have to do that. Yes, you do have to do that.
And then that'll be our new show.
That'll be absolutely necessary.
Get on that.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you again, Ryan, for taking part with us.
Thank you for having me.
Across the universe.
Thanks for being our
very
first
exciting.
guest.
Thanks for inviting me into the TARDIS right away, as opposed to 10
Ryan, do you want to
in.
give out your podcast info again?
Yeah, you can go to
People that may wanna subscribe?
SaveUsGames.com and get, there's obviously, just like this show, all the episodes for free. They're wonderful. And I'm at Ryan Quintel on the Twitter, because I do tweet, as I know both. Don't you guys tweet? What are your tweets?
We tweet a lot.
How do you get your tweets?
I'm at DanJNJ on the old Twitter machine.
And I am at E. Grissom on Twitter.
Yep.
And that's where you will find me. And you can also find this podcast on the old DoctorWhoShow.com and on iTunes. And now we're also on Stitcher. So if that's your bag, we've got you covered.
I got to get on Stitcher.
All you Stitcher fans, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Buried the lead on this episode.
We, good stuff. Dan, you have anything to plug? I cut over.
No, I don't. I have nothing going on. This is all I
anything.
live for every 3 weeks. So
There's no plugs.
no, I don't plug anything.
Plugs.
What about you, Eric? What's going on with the book?
Yeah, I could plug my
Please
book.
do.
As some of you know, that I'm writing comic books, or I have comic books written. And one of them is called Dead Horse. It's a comic about a man who has nothing, who finds the key to everything. You can now go to deadhorsecomic.com and you can download the first 2 chapters for free. That's for you, so I think you should check it out. If you're a fan of Twin Peaks, which we've mentioned, or even Doctor Who, I think you might like it. And if you do download the preview and you do dig it, you can actually go to my website, ericgrissom.com, and order the book and use the code TODWS at checkout, and that's going to get you 25% off. Hey, cheapskates, this one's for you. You can just take some money right out of the checkout.
I'm literally
and into your heart.
Closing our chat and going and doing that right now.
You should absolutely do
because
that.
I'm so excited for it.
Thank you. This is very good.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you again, Ryan. So join us in 3 weeks on June 24th when Dan and I review Carnival of Monsters. You can find that story on Netflix, Hulu Plus, and iTunes. Awesome. All right. See ya.
Peace.
I am he, and he is me.
We are all together, Goo 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 Choo?